there, welcome to Sweet 16, where we watch the sweetest 16 minutes of gameplay and have a chit-chat about what we're seeing. Today we are looking at a game that you might be familiar with because it came out a million years ago, but is freshly out on PC Game Pass. It is Death Stranding, and I've got with me Dan.
Hi.
And Jordan.
Hello.
Jordan played the first 10 minutes, Dan played the last 5. I forgot to say that my name is Rad. And this is a pretty divisive game, so where do each of you stand on it? I'm going to start with you, Dan.
I was going to say you should start with Jordan because my answer's quite complicated.
Okay, well, let's start with Jordan then.
Fair. So I've played about an hour and a half of this game, and I loathe it. I did not have a good time at all, despite having loved Metal Gear Solid 5. This was my first time playing Death Stranding at all, and yeah, not great.
So I have a follow-up question to that. When you play Metal Gear, do you play stealth or do you play like lethal?
I mix between the two. I'm a versatile man.
Interesting. So my very complicated answer to Death Stranding is I hate Kojima for how much I love Kojima. I love every single game he has ever made, and I will play them as much as I hate how much I love them. Death Stranding is a game that I spent 68, 70 hours playing.
Oh my word.
Unfathomable.
And I don't think... But also, I agree with every single person who is like, it's a bad game. Like, I 100% agree with you. Like you should... If you don't like it, don't play it. Because there's not much in there. If you can't find the single thing that you really like about it, you're not going to have a good time. But for me, I really love Death Stranding.
And what's the single thing that you love about it?
This part right here is just motoring about with the stuff on your back, the way it feels to move Norman Reedus and his magic fetus through this world is so... I will talk about this like intangible thing called game feel, which is the way games feel when you play them. Things like Doom, Unpacking, Death Stranding, Metal Gear Solid, Forza Horizon 5 all have really good game feel. When you press the buttons and you move the sticks and the stuff moves around on the screen, it feels quite like, people say heavy or crunchy or things like that.
Juicy is the word that I like to use.
Yeah, juicy. Like all these words to describe something that you can't really describe without actually feeling it. And like to counterpoint that, like Fortnite is a very, very popular game that I would say doesn't have good game feel. When you shoot someone in Fortnite, it feels like you're shooting a Super Soaker. In this, I think what Kojima has done with Death Stranding, which is to be commended, is he's made a walking simulator that makes walking a really mechanically satisfying thing to do with the man on screen. Like the way you have to shift your weight and like hold it and just the sort of the crunchiness, the juiciness of running around as Sam through this, what looks like he's probably wanted to go on a holiday to Norway and he was like, I'll capture some photos and we'll put it in the game. That world is just, it feels so good.
See, I am a huge fan of gameplay. I'm very, very much gameplay over story. I've played, I think, maybe like 3 or 4 hours of this when it first came out. I don't remember anything at all. But I feel like this game relies so heavily on the story pulling you through that I found it really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that people talk about, and I wonder if that's a little bit of like the mythos of Kojima, is people talk about how he's this storytelling auteur, and he's just not. Like, the story in Kojima games are bad. They've never been good. They've always been these weird, tangentially like related things about, I don't know, life, and they're just not, they're not good.
It feels to me a little bit like a horror movie where they have a great conceit, they set it up, there's mystery, and then you get to the end and they have nothing to back it up. Like the whole, thing will be, oh, it was just a dream or something like that, because they don't know where to go with it. There's nothing complete behind it.
To go one step further, Kojima loves showing you something really cool and then explaining it immediately and making sure you understand exactly how that new thing works.
So he can be like, look how clever I am. I did it.
And that's all through Death Stranding. Like, every time you meet someone new, like you meet a dude who's Nicholas Winding Refn, the director of Drive. That's the other thing in this game that's super strange. All the characters are just like captures of really famous people that he's just put in, but they don't have their voices. Like Jeff Keighley's in it, but he's got this weird voice that doesn't match. It's super weird. Anyway, you meet Nicholas Winding Refn, and his whole thing is he dies every 20 minutes. And
Don't we all?
It's a cool idea, but then they spend like an hour in cutscenes explaining all of that to you, and it's just a bit like, meh. But, Jordan, I know we've talked about this. You don't even like the walking.
I'm simmering right now.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, if by making movement and walking engaging, you mean arbitrarily hitting the left and right triggers while walking in a straight line, yeah, that's hella engaging, Dan. As we can see here, I'm trying to traverse. I could have gone around this mountain, but it was pushing me through. I'm saying, look, let's try these tools that you're given. And so I tried to find a nice spot for my ladder, but this just it's not enjoyable because it takes so much time just to traverse. I have to hold the A button here because I'm playing on PC with an Xbox controller, and you'll see these visual glitches. Doesn't feel good, doesn't look good to me. I'm not sure if it was just my game.
Oh, no, that's definitely all through it.
Okay, good, great. So just having different stacked boxes on you and having to counterbalance weight. We saw a segment just before I was pursued by, I guess, hunters or somebody who was trying to steal my cargo.
I believe they're called mules.
Oh, my apologies. Mules, and they were trying to steal my cargo, and it was just annoying because I just had to manage all these different pop-ups that were happening and stressing me out while I was just trying to run away.
Well, can I ask? See, for me, that makes it way more fun because you're having to manage all of these different things. You're trying to keep your balance while you're running up this way, while also the whole thing with this is there's these entities known as BTs that will sometimes be in areas, and your little scanner will come up, and then you have to sneak around. So you could be getting chased, you have to sneak through areas, and you have to be setting up all these ropes, but I find that to be much more enjoyable. It makes it harder to get away. But the climbing and stuff, yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
So wait, the walking game feel that you like is the one where you're running away from the spooky guys.
It's running away from the spooky guys. It's hiding in bushes. It's the way you have to counterbalance your weight. It's just the way so once the further into this you get, the more stuff you get unlocked. And the parts that you're kind of frustrated by right now, Jordan, of not being able to climb and having to set up ladders and stuff, that becomes less and less of an issue because as the game opens up, you start getting bleed in from everyone else's worlds.
Okay.
And so they start pulling through their ladders, or there's a highway system where you're restoring the roads across this version of the United States.
Right.
But here we go. Here's the BT stuff. So it's kind of like forced stealth, but you can also easily just walk around this if you don't really want to deal with it. And it just kind of, it's a nice way to keep the walking interesting, because that's really all this game is. It's just another walking simulator, as much as I hate saying that.
Funnily enough, I didn't like the elements with the BT and things like that because I just found it a little bit too spooky. And look, I know that games have to have stakes and things like that, but I actually enjoyed just the simple act of walking through, and yeah, the way that the weight feels without things like that popping up to say hello. I don't need that stress.
Do you like the BTs, Jordan? This kind of change up?
I don't. I'll be honest, I didn't feel the game did a good job of explaining to me from my first encounter how to deal with them, because I felt like I only had to run away. And so I just ran until the encounter ended, but I didn't feel like I was actually dealing with them. I was just running away from my problems.
So that's kind of the whole thing of the BTs, right? Is especially in this context, especially very early in the game, you don't know how to deal with them because you don't have anything to deal with them yet. Would you like to know how you deal with BTs?
Please tell me.
Certainly, Dan.
Because it's the most absurd Kojima-ism of all time.
Give him a little kiss?
No, you capture your urine and your dirty bathwater into grenades, and then you throw it at them.
Hot.
That's literally how you
That's how I
fight
deal
a
with
BT.
all my problems.
Generally, that would scare a lot
You
of
throw
people
pee
away.
on them. Yeah, absolutely. But even this, when you're trying to get away from the tar fellas, it feels. It's so hard for me to talk about what it is, but that's what's. I think, Jordan, you're coming in for an argument, and I agree with everything you're saying. Everything that you don't like about it, I 100% agree with.
I just felt a bit overwhelmed. There's a lot of stuff happening. BB's stress levels increasing. When I was straying from my ladder, it was saying, your ladder's far away, your ladder's far away, your ladder's far away. Everything just pops up, and in these stressful moments, I'm like, what do I press? What do I do?
That's interesting, because I think that kind of speaks to how you and I consume different kinds of games, right? I ignore all of that. I don't care. When the baby starts crying, I turned my controller speaker all the way down so I wouldn't hear it.
Wow.
So
does that on DualSense?
Yeah, so
Wow.
it'll cry out the controller, which
my
is
God.
it's super weird.
That's miserable.
And you can rock it with the motion controls. It's super weird. But you can ignore all of those things, and I think that's kind of what Kojima games do really well, is they have all of those extra laid-on systems like your BB and stuff like that, and keeping his mood up and keeping his mood down. The only time you have to worry about it is when he's crying, because that's a problem. because it'll alert BTs or it'll alert mules. But otherwise, like, the perks you get for like a super stoked BB, they're not that good, you know? Oh, here he is.
Here's my little guy. The controller had to hit like 3 different buttons to pull this up, and it was insanely confusing. I'm like, why can't I just press a single button to calm my BB like my horse in Red Dead Redemption?
I should say I did play a bit on PC. I didn't get as far as this in my playthrough, but I think the controls might be slightly more enjoyable on PC, possibly.
With mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, with mouse and keyboard.
So we're at DC's. This is like I said, 68 hours. I have played this game to death. I have everything that I could possibly need. So my Norman Reedus and his magic fetus is wearing an all-terrain skeleton.
Right.
So all the balance, not a problem anymore.
Oh, so you don't even have to do anything.
You can balance, but it makes carrying things like a heavy man who's got a sore leg way easier. And there's things in the background that you have no idea what they are. So those big things in the background, you can basically, as you progress, you can set up flying foxes through the universe.
Right.
And they're just big, long zip lines that you can use to get over mountains. So the whole idea is that you're like this lone explorer pushing through this wilderness, and you're setting up pathways to make it easier for the people who come after you. Because that's, as much as I hate saying it, he has done a pretty good job of making it be this connected strands experience of like players helping players and the thumbs up stuff.
How long do you have to play it to start, having it, I don't want to say having it be enjoyable, but having it be enjoyable?
I don't know. If you I'm a big believer in if a game doesn't grab you within the first hour or the first, your first play session, then it's probably not going to grab you. So if you're not into it from the go, because the mechanic, like the feel of it and like what you're doing doesn't really change. So it's like the Breath of the Wild thing, right? Like if you play the tutorial island in Breath of the Wild and you don't like it, you're going to hate the rest of the game because that's the game. Same with Death Stranding. If you don't like the first few missions where you're walking the corpse up to the incinerator and like riding your bike for a little bit, if you don't like that, you're probably not going to like the rest of it.
See, I'm so on the fence about this game because I do think there's some really intriguing stuff in it. I do quite like how the game plays and feels, but I also feel really fatigued by it very, very quickly. And I have heard people say that it's an amazing game, they love it, and they, often are like you, Dan, and they can't necessarily explain what it is that they love about it. But that really makes me wonder, like, is it worth investing 70 hours of my life to try and find the enjoyment in this? I don't know that I have that kind of time to...
No, I would say don't. Like, if you're not going to enjoy it, it's kind of... it's like digital knitting, I guess, or like relaxing for me. It's a game that I can play. I can run around. I can be fulfilled by what I'm doing. It's fun. It doesn't super stress me out. But also, I'm just such a sucker for like unlocking, just finding out these weird layered things that are in Death Stranding. There's always something else to make you want to be like, oh, what's over that hill? Maybe I'll go see what's over there.
But see, that's what makes me think that it could be so satisfying. And like, to me, that's what I assume people love about it. The fact that you get in deeper and you find more things that make you feel more connected. And I think that's kind of the same as like art house films, right? Like I, in my mind, very much place this game in that same area of it's almost really irritating when you first step into it, but then as you learn more perhaps like contextually or about the people that made it or about their messaging, it actually becomes something really important and enjoyable despite the irritating parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a key thing I was lacking when playing this game was a little thing called patience. And I actually learned patience with Metal Gear Solid 5 when I was doing the stealth stuff rather than like going in guns blazing, and I found it enjoyable. But for this, wading through like 5 to 6 consecutive cutscenes when I just want to feel what the actual game feels like was tough.
What's crazy is this is the most streamlined version of Kojima games I've ever played.
Wow.
Like, this has the least barrier of cutscenes of any of his games by far, and this is much more. That's what because I'm not a big fan of Metal Gear Solid 5. I think it's by far probably Kojima's weakest game, but people loved it, and I think they stripped away all the fat for Death Stranding and they made it. It's really focused. It's focused on these really core things.
Is it focused?
Well, it's focused on what it's trying to do, which is that interconnected thing. The story is terrible.
Look,
it's absolutely...
When the first, 3 hours of the game, 2.5 hours of that is cutscenes, I'm not sure that I feel that that's focused.
See, maybe I haven't. Maybe I need to start it again because I remember being shocked how quickly I could play.
What? No. Okay, so I just restarted it this morning to kind of refresh myself on it, and yeah, it's a lot of cutscenes. Like, yes, you do get to play quite quickly, but for probably 10 minutes, and then you're straight back into like half an hour of cutscenes.
Yes.
Which is crazy, because like 10 minutes to me in a Kojima game, I'm like, man, that's blisteringly fast. But like, I completely understand. And so this is what I'm talking about. You can see how much stuff there is in my world compared to Jordan's.
Yeah.
I've basically got a highway that connects every single part of the map. And that's a big kind of thing you unlock really far into the game, is restoring all of these pavers and making sure you can make a highway to kind of connect the world. But in conclusion, on my side, don't play Death Stranding if you don't want to. You're not going to enjoy it if you don't enjoy it.
Look, I do like that it's now on a platform where, you know, a lot of people are going to have a PC Game Pass subscription already, so they can just jump in and have a play. And, you know, removing that barrier of entry of having to purchase an expensive game, you know, is nice. And I think that there are people that are going to find the thing that you love about it, Dan. And that's kind of cool. Well, that is it for our look at Death Stranding. What do you think? Have you played it? Have you put in the 70 hours, or do you hate it?
Jordan?
Like Jordo does.
I will never play this game again.
Let us know in the comments below, and check out ABC Gamer for other cool content from us. Remember to subscribe. We'll see you later.